Toronto, Ontario, January 15, 2026. A powerful winter storm has struck large parts of Ontario, Canada, bringing dangerous conditions to multiple major cities including Toronto, the Greater Toronto Area, Oshawa, and Ottawa. As the storm system intensified overnight and into the early morning hours, heavy snowfall, strong winds, and rapidly deteriorating visibility created widespread disruption across both southern and eastern Ontario. In Toronto and across the Greater Toronto Area, snow began falling steadily before dawn, quickly intensifying into heavy snowfall. Accumulations reached between 20 and 30 centimeters within a 24-hour period, with localized bands producing even higher totals. Wind gusts exceeding 60 kilometers per hour caused blowing and drifting snow, leading to frequent whiteout conditions, particularly on exposed roadways and highways. Major transportation routes throughout the GTA were severely affected. Sections of Highway 401, the Don Valley Parkway, and other key corridors experienced major slowdowns, collisions, and temporary closures as vehicles struggled to maintain traction on snow-covered and icy surfaces. Emergency services reported a significant increase in weather-related incidents, including vehicles sliding into snowbanks, multi-car collisions, and motorists stranded in deep snow. In eastern parts of the GTA, including Oshawa and the Durham region, conditions were equally severe. Heavy snowfall combined with strong winds reduced visibility and made travel extremely hazardous. Local authorities urged residents to avoid unnecessary travel as plows and emergency crews worked continuously to clear priority routes. School transportation was suspended across the region, and many educational institutions cancelled in-person classes for the day. Public transportation systems across Toronto and the surrounding municipalities faced major disruptions. Bus routes were delayed or suspended, streetcars struggled to operate in deep snow, and commuters experienced long waits in freezing conditions. Transit agencies reduced service frequencies in some areas to prioritize safety as road conditions worsened throughout the morning. Air travel was also significantly impacted. Toronto Pearson International Airport and Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport reported numerous flight delays and cancellations due to snow-covered runways, de-icing operations, and reduced visibility. Ground crews worked around the clock to maintain operations, but travelers were warned to expect ongoing disruptions. The storm's impact extended beyond southern Ontario. As the system moved eastward, Ottawa and eastern Ontario were also hit by heavy snowfall and strong winds. In Ottawa, snow-covered streets, highways, and bridges made travel dangerous throughout the city. Sections of Highway 417 experienced slowdowns and incidents as visibility dropped and snow accumulated rapidly. Downtown Ottawa, including areas near Parliament Hill, was blanketed in snow, with plows struggling to keep pace during peak snowfall. Authorities in Ottawa reported hazardous driving conditions and urged residents to remain off the roads unless absolutely necessary. Public transit services experienced delays as buses navigated snow-covered streets, while municipal crews worked to clear major routes and emergency access points. Government buildings and offices adjusted operations as the storm intensified. Across Ontario, educational institutions took precautionary measures. School boards in Toronto, Durham region, Ottawa, and surrounding areas cancelled in-person classes and suspended school bus services. Major universities, including campuses in Toronto and Ottawa, shifted to remote learning or closed entirely for the day to ensure student and staff safety. Emergency services throughout the province were stretched as responders dealt with an increased volume of weather-related calls. Police, fire, and rescue teams assisted stranded motorists, responded to collisions, and conducted welfare checks. Officials emphasized that even short trips could quickly become dangerous as conditions changed rapidly. In addition to heavy snow, the storm brought bitterly cold temperatures and strong wind chills, increasing the risk of frostbite and hypothermia. Health officials advised residents to limit time outdoors, dress in warm layers, and check on vulnerable individuals. Pet owners were reminded to keep animals indoors and ensure adequate shelter and warmth. Municipalities across Ontario activated full winter storm response plans, deploying snowplows, salt trucks, and road crews around the clock. Priority was given to highways, major arterial roads, transit routes, and emergency corridors. Cleanup efforts were expected to continue well after snowfall eased, with residential streets and secondary roads addressed as resources allowed. As snowfall gradually began to taper later in the day, officials warned that refreezing overnight could create additional hazards. Drivers were urged to remain cautious, as compacted snow and ice could persist even after plowing operations. This winter storm stands out as one of the most disruptive events of the season, impacting multiple major cities across Ontario. From Toronto and the GTA to Oshawa and Ottawa, the storm paralyzed transportation, disrupted daily life, and tested emergency services across the province. While conditions were expected to improve gradually, the aftermath of the storm would be felt for days as communities worked to dig out and restore normal operations. As the storm continued to grip Ontario, the full scope of its impact became increasingly clear. Across Toronto, the Greater Toronto Area, Oshawa, and Ottawa, daily routines were completely disrupted as residents adapted to rapidly changing and often dangerous conditions. What began as steady snowfall quickly escalated into a province-wide weather emergency that tested infrastructure, emergency response, and public resilience. Throughout the afternoon, snowfall persisted in waves, occasionally easing before intensifying again. Meteorologists explained that the storm system was drawing moisture from the Great Lakes while cold Arctic air remained firmly in place, a combination that sustained heavy snowfall across much of Ontario. In some areas, snow continued to accumulate even after plows had passed, quickly covering cleared lanes and sidewalks. In residential neighborhoods across Toronto and Oshawa, streets became narrowed by snowbanks, making it difficult for vehicles to pass in both directions. Many residents reported being unable to leave their driveways, while others abandoned attempts to shovel as wind refilled cleared areas within minutes. Snow removal crews worked methodically, but officials cautioned that it would take time to fully restore access to all neighborhoods. In downtown Toronto, the storm transformed the cityscape. Office towers, storefronts, and transit shelters were coated in layers of snow and ice. Foot traffic was sparse, with only essential workers braving the conditions. The sound of snowplows and emergency sirens echoed through otherwise quiet streets. Restaurants and businesses either closed early or remained shut for the day, citing employee safety and transportation challenges. The Greater Toronto Area saw similar scenes. In Mississauga, Brampton, Markham, and Vaughan, drivers reported long delays on arterial roads as snow-covered lanes and reduced visibility slowed traffic to a crawl. Several municipalities issued reminders that parking restrictions were in effect to allow plows to operate more efficiently, warning that improperly parked vehicles could be ticketed or towed. In Oshawa and Durham region, authorities emphasized the severity of conditions along regional roads and highways. Snowfall rates remained high for much of the day, and drifting snow continued to reduce visibility on open stretches of road. Emergency responders assisted multiple drivers who had become stuck after attempting to navigate unplowed routes. Officials reiterated that travel should be limited to emergencies only. Further east, Ottawa experienced similar challenges as the storm moved across eastern Ontario. Snow accumulated steadily across the capital, covering major streets, residential neighborhoods, and government districts. Parliament Hill, typically bustling with activity, appeared nearly deserted as snowfall intensified. Municipal crews focused on clearing major corridors, bridges, and transit routes, while secondary streets remained snow-covered for extended periods. Ottawa's public transit system faced ongoing delays as buses navigated slick roads and reduced visibility. Commuters who did venture out reported longer travel times and crowded vehicles as service adjustments were made throughout the day. City officials urged patience, noting that safety remained the top priority under such conditions. Across the province, hospitals and emergency services remained operational, but under strain. While no widespread power outages were reported, authorities monitored conditions closely, particularly in areas where heavy snow and wind could stress infrastructure. Utility crews were placed on standby in case conditions worsened overnight. The storm also had a noticeable psychological impact. For many residents, the intensity of the snowfall and the speed at which conditions deteriorated brought memories of past major winter storms.